In this lab, we're going to calculate statistics. Now, each of you will take a statistics class that will show you how to calculate various healthcare statistics, and you'll do the majority of these manually in that class. But I wanted to show you how to use Excel to calculate the census. And this one's relatively simple. There's some formulas that we're going to put into our spreadsheet in order to calculate the census every day. You know, the census is just how many people are in the hospital at a predetermined time every day. And usually the census is taken at or around midnight to determine how many people are actually in the hospital. Now, on your instructions, you're given the number of admissions for the month, the number of discharges for the month, and some other information that you'll enter into your spreadsheet to calculate the census, and then to calculate the total admissions and the total discharges for the month. The first thing you're told to do is to put a particular title on your spreadsheet. And I gave you information on the font and that it should be centered and things like that. And so let me just type in the title, and I'm going to show you, and some of you know this by CIS 146, by that class, others may not, or you may not remember, that you can manipulate the actual cells where information is entered, and you can center it on the page, you can format it, and so we're going to do that. Now, as I said, you're given a sheet. I think I labeled that a data sheet, where all of the information that you need to enter into your spreadsheet will be located. And the first thing that I told you after the title was the actual titles of the columns, or how they should be labeled. And so you have date, the 12:01 a.m. census. And you'll see as I'm typing this in, all of these things aren't showing up or fitting in each cell. But I don't want you to put them in separate cells. Just keep on typing, and we will format our spreadsheet later and make sure everything fits and everything's kind of neat and tidy and we can see everything. So you go by your instructions and type in your column headings. Just as I'm doing. And the first thing you're going to do is type in the date, or the dates for every day in June, because that's the month that we're for which we're calculating the census. And so the format is just the month and then a slash and then the year. But you'll notice that the format changed. You may have put it in one way. Now, when you do it on your computer, your defaults may be set differently, so it may not do this, but I wanted to show you what you do if all of a sudden you type something in and then it looks different. What you do is format that cell. And if you will type or right-click in that cell, and you'll go down your menu and you see where it says Format Cells, you pick the Number tab, and notice it's on Custom right now, and it is formatted to come out as day and then the month. But if we go up to Date and then go through the different choices, we find that this is actually the format that we had intended, 3-14. And so if we press OK, that will change our date back to exactly how we entered it. Now, instead of having to type the date for every month, we can just copy this cell. And the way we do that is take our mouse, and you'll see that as I'm moving the mouse, there's a white cross. But you'll notice as you go up to the cell that's highlighted, there's a little black square in the bottom right hand corner. So as we go over it, we now see a smaller black cross. We hold our mouse down and come all the way down the row. You see, you're seeing what date you're on as we drag, excuse me, I said row, I meant column, all the way down. Let's start that over. I shouldn't have stopped it when I did. And as we drag all the way down, it tells us where we are, and June has 30 days, and so we want to go to June 30th and let up, and our dates are automatically entered for us. Well, once we've done that, you can either go on and put your data as far as the number of admissions and the number of discharges in, and then put your formulas for calculation of your statistics, or you can do it the other way around. It really doesn't matter. It's just, it won't be correct until the very end when you've put in all your data and you have your formulas entered. Now, the 1201 census, we have to start somewhere, so I gave you the number. I said there are 100 people in the hospital at 12:01 a.m. on June the 1st. And we want to put in a formula, so I'm going to go on and put that in, and we want to put a formula to calculate the 11:59 p.m. census every day. And then we are going to put a formula that from June 2nd on will calculate the 1201 census. As I said, the census is just how many patients are in the hospital at a particular time. And so if the 1201 census is taken, and let's say there's 100 people in there, the way that we determine how many people are there at 11:59 that night is to take the 1201 census, add how many people came in, and subtract how many people went out. It's just that simple as far as this particular calculation. Now, let's put that formula in, and let's think about it in terms of a spreadsheet. If we say we're going to take the 1201 census, that particular value is showing up in cell B3. We say the column first and then the row. So B3 shows us the 1201 census on 6/1. So, when we start to add our formulas to put in B3, and then we're going to add the admissions, which would be plus C3, and then subtract the discharges, that would be minus D3. We click in the cell where we want the formula to be, and then we automatically click up here in the formula bar. Because numbers are going to show up here, so think of the formula kind of like in the background. And so anytime you're typing into a formula into a cell, click into the cell to select it, and then click into the formula bar. Anytime you're going to do a formula, and it's something that we tend to forget, but just you have to remember, you always start with an equal sign. So you type an equal sign, and then tell this Excel spreadsheet exactly what you want it to do. And so we want to take that 1201 census on the 1st of June. So that would be take B, what row are we on? 3, and then add to that total, or that number, the number of admissions, which would show up in C3. And remember, that's part of the data that you're going to input into your spreadsheet. So then add C3, and then we said we're going to subtract the number of discharges, so that would be in D3. So minus D3. And so our formula's in, and since we have not, or I have not put my data in, notice that actually 100 minus nothing plus nothing, it still equals 100. So if I actually had put my numbers in, and these aren't the numbers, this isn't the data that you'll use, it's on your data sheet, but I'm just going to put some, let's say 34 people came in and 28 people left. So that would give us a census of 106. Okay. We've put that formula in, and just as we copied the date all the way down, we can take that formula that's in there. So we click into our cell, go to that bottom right corner, hold the mouse down, come all the way down to June the 30th row, let up, and that formula has been copied, but it actually changes the row number. And for example, and this is 0 because I haven't put my data in yet, but let's click in the 4th row into that E column, so E4, and notice number 0 showing up. But if I look up in that formula bar, it actually says B4 plus C4 minus D4. Well, the formula we originally put in was B3 plus C3 minus D3. So it did change the row number. And as you go down, you can click in every row, and that formula is the same, except the row number has changed. So we've copied that formula because we want to do that same thing for every day of the month of June. Another formula that we want to put in is to calculate the 1201 census every day. Now, if you think about this, whether or not you've had healthcare statistics yet, or HIT, I think that's 155 and 156, if you think about it, 11:59, there's 106 patients in the hospital. To calculate the actual census for 12:01 a.m., that could be just really less than a minute's difference. It could be 11:59 at 59 seconds, and then the other census is just 1 minute later that we're actually taking. So I would say, in all probability, nobody's going to be admitted or discharged within those very few minutes. And so we can assume that the census at 12:01 one day is exactly the same number as the census at 11:59 p.m. the day before, because it's just a very few, sometimes seconds, in between those two times. And so, if we're going to put a formula to calculate from the 2nd all the way to the 30th what the 12:01 a.m. census is, we just say, okay, it's the same number as the row above in column E, or the 11:59 p.m. census. And so let's click in our cell. Remember, always an equal sign if we're putting a formula in. And so we're going to say, we look at this, and we're in B4, and we're going to say, okay, B4 is exactly the same as E3. So our formula is very simple. Just equals E3, which is this number. And so that's all our formula is. And so when we click out, notice that formula actually calculated it, took this number and put it here. And we want to do that every day. So since we've put our formula in, let's go from the cell in which the formula was entered, copy it all the way down to the 30th of the month, let up on our mouse, and there we go. So again, these numbers are changing because we're putting formulas in, and then we're going to put data in. So as you put your data in, if you do it in that order, let's just say 50 people came in and 47 people went home. The census is 109 at 11:59 p.m. on the 2nd of June, and notice it's 109 at 12:01 a.m. on the 3rd of June. So you will go and put all of your all of your data in. Another thing you were told is you need a row to do some summations or totals at the very end. So the very last row, which happens to be 33, I'm going to type in total, and pay attention on your instructions. I may say do it in this font, so in this color or whatever, so you need to pay attention to your instructions. Okay, on your instructions it said we want to total 2 columns. Not every column. We want to total the number of admissions and the number of discharges for the month. We want to find out how many in total patients came in the hospital and how many patients left. So the way we total or sum a column, I'm going to show you the formula first. You want your total to appear in C33 to total all your admissions. And so we click into that cell, go to the formula bar, remember equals, and then type sum, open parentheses, and we want to tell it, what do we want to sum? Well, we want to total up or sum every number from C3 down, so let's put that in, C3, and then we put a colon in, and we're just given the range of what needs to be total. So C3, and then we go down, and we want to total to C32, because that would be the admissions for June the 30th. So through C32. And again, as we put the data in, that number is going to change, but you can see that that formula is correct because we only have 2 admission dates in so far. The admission for 2 dates, 34 and 50, which equals 84, and if we look down, that's the total that we have. But as we go through, that number is going to change. We also wanted to total the discharges for the month. So we do the very same thing except in the discharge column. So equals sum, open parentheses, that would be D3 through D32. So we've done our totals. Now if you'll notice up here, this is actually the summation symbol, and so we can do it easier and it will put the formula, but I want you to understand what the formulas mean, and so we can click in there and then come up and do a shortcut and do a sum, and then we would highlight all of the cells. So let me show you just quickly. I'm just going to do this on one. I'm going to go and delete that formula we had to add up all of our admissions for the month. I'm going to come here, highlight all of the cells that we want to total, and then go to summation, sum, and that actual formula was put in for us. I needed to go one. I'm going to undo that because I didn't highlight enough cells. When we're doing it this way, we have to highlight all the way through the cell that we want the total to show up in. So we highlight it or select it, click on sum, do a sum, and if you click in here, there's that formula that we had put in. It's just that the software did it for us. So there's 2 different ways. Now also you're told on your instructions to format everything. Now, as I said before, all of your column headings are not showing up. They're too big, so we need to format that. I said don't put, for example, 1201A in Census. If we click in B2, if you look in your formula bar, everything that's in that cell is showing up. We don't want to divide it and put Census in C and 1201AM in B. We want it to stay like it is, and then we want to format it. And so we do that by highlighting our columns, except for our major title. go to Format, and you'll see that there's a column width, but there's also an auto column fit. And if you click that, it will automatically make the column to the widest value in that column. And so everything fits. And while I have that highlighted, also, while you have that highlighted, we said in the instructions, or I said in the instructions, I want borders around everything. To put borders, you go to this button, which is usually up with the fonts, and you have a choice of just putting a top border or thick borders and all different types of things. But I want borders all around of what I have selected, so I click that. There are my borders. And also, while I have all this selected, said I want everything centered. So let's center that. So we just click our center button. Now the only thing we have left is, remember I said do the font of the title. I think I said 20 and maybe a bold, or maybe I said 24. I'm not looking at the instructions right now. And we want it centered over all of our data in our spreadsheet. And so the way we do that, and it's usually better to do this at the end rather than the beginning, is we want to merge these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells together so that we can center what we just have in cell A1. Because notice when I click on A1, Census Report June for the year is showing up. So what I want to do is hold down my mouse, go over, and we want to merge all of these top cells together. And it just so happens, here's a button that says Merge and Center. So if we click on that, we've centered it, we've merged the cells together, which allowed us to center this. And then we can also highlight what we have in our cell and change the font. We can make it bold. So whatever your instructions say. But the main thing is when you're manipulating anything in a spreadsheet is click in the cell, and then if you're putting in any additional information or you're formatting or deleting anything out of that cell, go up to the formula bar to do it. So instead of manipulating Census Report June and then the year, from here we can click into that formula bar, and it's a lot easier to manipulate, and we can change anything we want to. So those are the basics. So just remember to put your formulas in, and then you will of course put all your data in, and then you will total 2 columns, which are the admissions and the discharges.